My heart felt like it was trying to beat its way out of my chest. Not the good kind of pounding. Not the thrill of closing a big deal. No. This was different. This was the icy grip of fear. Real, raw fear. It crawled up my spine, tightening my throat, stealing my breath. I've known fear before. Every black woman in America knows fear. It's a shadow that walks beside you. But this felt sharper, more immediate, more dangerous. And it was happening on a day that was supposed to be mine. It was a Tuesday, mid-morning. The kind of beautiful day that makes you believe good things can happen. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows of Prestige Motors, my dealership, my dream made real. The air buzzed with quiet efficiency. Phones murmured. Keyboards clicked. The scent of new car leather and polish hung faintly in the air. It was the smell of success. My success. Built with my own 2 hands. Built with sleepless nights and skipped meals. Built with doors slammed in my face and whispers behind my back. Built with sheer stubborn determination. From a tiny rented lot with 3 used cars to this gleaming showroom filled with luxury vehicles. My name, Aaliyah Jones, wasn't just on the sign outside, it was woven into every fiber of this place. I remembered the early days, the doubts, my own and everyone else's. A woman, running a car dealership, a luxury one. I heard the snickers. I saw the condescending smiles. Honey, maybe you should stick to something simpler. Their disbelief only fueled my fire. I learned everything. Engines, financing, marketing, negotiating. I worked harder than everyone else. I had to. There was no safety net, no family money, just me. And this burning desire to prove them all wrong, to build something lasting, something respected, something mine. And I did it. Prestige Motors wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. That morning, a new transport had arrived. A fresh collection of automotive jewels, sedans that whispered luxury, SUVs that promised adventure. My eyes landed on one immediately, a sedan, painted the deepest shade of sapphire blue. It looked like captured midnight. Sleek lines, powerful stance. It wasn't just metal and glass, it felt like potential. Like freedom. Like everything I'd worked for, embodied in 4 wheels. I needed to feel it. Just for a moment. David, I called out, spotting my sales manager across the showroom floor. David Miller. He'd been with me almost from the start. A good man. Loyal. He saw me, not the assumptions. He hurried over, a questioning look on his face. Everything okay, Aaliyah? Perfect. I smiled, trying to inject some lightness I didn't fully feel yet that morning. The usual stress hummed beneath the surface. Just admiring the new arrivals. That blue sedan, it's calling my name. He followed my gaze. Ah, the Apex 7, just unloaded. She's a beauty, isn't she? She is. I agreed. I think I'm going to take her for a quick spin. Get a feel for the engine before the clients start asking. It was part of my routine. I liked knowing the cars intimately. It wasn't just business, it was passion. David grinned. Go for it, boss. Clear your head for a few minutes. You deserve a little joyride. He handed me the keys, his expression warm. Just don't scratch the merchandise. I laughed, as if slipping into the driver's seat felt like coming home. The rich smell of premium leather enveloped me. The dashboard glowed softly, advanced technology at my fingertips. This was my world, the world I had built. I started the engine. A low, satisfying purr filled the cabin. Smooth, powerful, controlled, like I felt. Most days, I navigated carefully out of the pristine lot, waving briefly at the detailer, polishing a convertible. The city streets welcomed me. The usual rhythm of traffic, pedestrians, buildings flashing past. I drove slowly at first, just letting the car settle around me. The steering was responsive. The ride incredibly smooth. I imagined a client driving this car, signing the papers, feeling that thrill of ownership. That was my job, selling dreams. And maybe, just maybe, living my own. I turned onto a slightly less busy street. Allowed myself to press the accelerator just a little. The engine responded instantly. A surge of controlled power. Yes. This was good. This was why I loved these machines. A genuine smile finally touched my lips. The tension in my shoulders eased, just a fraction. 5 minutes. Maybe 10. That's all I needed. A brief escape before diving back into the whirlwind of running the business. Contracts to review. Staff meetings, client calls. But for these few moments, it was just me and the road. Me and this beautiful blue machine that represented so much. Then the world shattered. Reflected in the rearview mirror, flashing lights, blue and red, pulsing. Aggressive. My stomach plummeted. Ice water flooded my veins. Instinctively my foot lifted off the accelerator. My eyes darted to the speedometer. Was I speeding? No. Definitely not. I was barely above the limit, if at all. So why? 1,000 possibilities, none of them good, raced through my mind. A broken taillight. An issue with the temporary plate. But the feeling in my gut, it told me this was different. This was that shadow, stepping out into the light. My hands felt slippery on the expensive steering wheel. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. Calm down, Aaliyah, I whispered, the words feeling hollow. Just be calm, be polite. I signaled and pulled over to the curb, my movements jerky. The engine idled softly, a stark contrast to the frantic drumming in my ears. I watched in the mirror as 2 police officers exited their patrol car. They didn't rush, they took their time. One older, his face set in hard lines, a look I'd seen too many times. Judgmental, weary, suspicious. The other younger, trying to project authority, but a flicker of something else, nervousness, eagerness, danced in his eyes. Their footsteps on the pavement sounded unnervingly loud. Each step closer tightened the knot in my stomach. I powered down the window, the smooth hum of the motor feeling alien. I forced my face into a neutral expression, pleasant, but not too friendly, compliant, but not weak. It was a delicate balance, learned through painful experience. "Good morning, officers," I said. My voice sounded surprisingly steady. Years of practice. The older officer stopped beside my window. He didn't return the greeting. He just looked. At me. At the car's interior. Then back at me. His gaze lingered, making my skin crawl. "Ma'am," he began. The word flat, devoid of respect. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" The classic opening. Designed to make you guess. To make you nervous. "No, officer, I'm afraid I don't," I replied, keeping my tone even. "License and registration, please." His voice was clipped. An order, not a request. I reached slowly, deliberately, for my purse on the passenger seat. Every movement felt magnified, scrutinized. "Don't move too fast. Don't seem erratic. Don't give them any excuse." The mantra repeated in my head. I retrieved my wallet and the vehicle's registration from the glove compartment. The registration clearly stated, Prestige Motors, my company address. I handed the documents over. My hand trembled slightly. I hoped he didn't notice. He took them, his eyes scanning my license, then the registration. He paused, looking from the paper to me again. That look. The one that strips you bare, that assumes the worst. "This vehicle," he stated, tapping the registration document with a thick finger. "It's registered to a business, Prestige Motors." "Yes, officer," I confirmed. "That's correct. Prestige Motors is my dealership. I own it." I tried to sound clear, confident. Like this was a simple explanation, because it was. It was the simple truth. He didn't acknowledge my statement. It was like I hadn't spoken. Or maybe, he simply didn't believe it was possible. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." The air left my lungs in a rush. Step out. My carefully constructed calm began to fray. "Officer, why? Is there something wrong with the paperwork?" "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle, now." The command was sharper this time. Less patient. I glanced at the younger officer. He had shifted his stance slightly. His hand rested casually, almost thoughtfully, near the butt of his firearm. A cold dread washed over me. This was escalating. Fast. And I didn't know why. Panic began to bubble beneath the surface. I took a shaky breath and opened the heavy car door. My legs felt unsteady as I stood up, smoothing down my tailored slacks. Standing on the sidewalk, next to this incredibly expensive car, I suddenly felt incredibly vulnerable, exposed. The older officer pocketed my license and registration. "We received a report," he said, his eyes narrowing, pinning me in place. "A report," I echoed, confused. "Of a stolen vehicle. Matching this description, driven by a suspicious individual. Stolen. Suspicious individual." The words hit me like physical blows. My mind struggled to catch up. "Stolen. This car. My car. Officer. That's impossible," I stammered, the fear making my voice thin. "This car is brand new. It just arrived at my dealership this morning. It hasn't even been prepped for sale yet. How could it possibly be reported stolen?" I gestured towards the car, then back at myself. "And suspicious. What makes me suspicious?" My voice rose slightly, tinged with indignation. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. A look that spoke volumes. A look that said, "See, just like we thought." Then the older one gave a small dismissive smirk. It wasn't a real smile. It was a weapon, meant to demean, meant to wound. "Right," he drawled, the sarcasm thick enough to cut. "You own the dealership. Sure you do. And I suppose you pay your taxes with monopoly money." The younger officer let out a short, harsh laugh. Heat flooded my face. A burning tide of humiliation and fury. How dare they? How dare they stand there and mock me? Treat me like a liar, like a fool. Years of microaggressions, of being underestimated, of fighting for credibility. It all surged up inside me. "I do own it," I insisted, my voice shaking now. Not just with fear, but with anger. "My name is Aaliyah Jones. Prestige Motors is my company. I built it. You can check. My business cards are in my purse. My employee ID lists me as CEO. My office is literally 3 blocks down that street." I pointed, my finger trembling. "The sign is visible from here." He followed my gesture, glanced briefly in the direction of my dealership, then looked back at me. His expression unchanged. Unconvinced. "We get all kinds of stories, lady," he said, shaking his head slowly. "People will say anything when they're caught. Caught. Doing what? Driving my own car. Being successful while black. This isn't a story." I nearly shouted, frustration boiling over. "Look at the registration again. It says Prestige Motors. Call them. Ask for David Miller, the sales manager. He saw me leave. He knows I'm the owner." My desperation felt thick and heavy in the air. I hated hearing it in my own voice. Hated feeling this helpless. The younger officer stepped closer. He had a notebook out now. "So where exactly were you taking this test drive?" he asked, his tone implying he already knew the answer was a lie. "Nowhere specific," I replied, trying to regain control, trying to sound reasonable. "Just around the block, to check the performance. It's standard procedure for me, with new inventory." "Standard procedure," the older officer repeated flatly. He clearly didn't believe a word. They were looking at me, but they weren't seeing me. They weren't seeing Aaliyah Jones, businesswoman, CEO, community member. They were seeing a stereotype, a caricature born of prejudice. They saw a black woman in a car too expensive for them to imagine her owning legitimately. Therefore she must have stolen it. The logic was flawed, racist and terrifyingly real. Tears welled in my eyes. Hot, angry tears. I blinked furiously, refusing to let them fall. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me break down. "Please," I said again, my voice dropping, pleading now. "Just make the call. Call the dealership. It will clear this whole thing up in 2 minutes." The older officer considered this for a fraction of a second, then dismissed it. "Yeah, right," he scoffed. "So you can warn whoever you're working with. We weren't born yesterday, ma'am. Accomplices. Working with someone?" The absurdity was staggering. It felt like I was trapped in a Kafka novel, a nightmare where logic didn't apply, and truth was irrelevant. I'm not working with anyone, I cried out. This is my car, my business. All right, that's enough, the older officer decided abruptly. His face hardened further. You're coming downtown with us. We'll sort this out at the station. The station. The words hit me like a physical shock. No, you can't be serious. Panic clawed at my throat. On what grounds? You have no proof. I haven't done anything wrong. Images flashed through my mind. Fingerprints. Mugshot. A holding cell. My name on an arrest report. My reputation meticulously built over years, destroyed in an instant, all based on a lie. Based on their refusal to see the truth right in front of them. Tell it to the judge, the younger officer said dismissively, unclipping his handcuffs from his belt. Handcuffs. The metallic click echoed in the sudden silence. My blood turned to ice. My vision tunneled. This was really happening. They were going to arrest me. For grand theft auto. My own auto. I looked around frantically. People on the sidewalk were stopping now. Watching. Whispering. Their faces blurred. A sea of curiosity and judgment. I felt stripped bare. Exposed to the world in the most humiliating way possible. My success, my beautiful car, now felt like instruments of my own downfall. Please, I whispered, a final desperate plea. Don't do this. Just look, the dealership is right there. Prestige Motors. I pointed again, my arm shaking uncontrollably. The familiar sign seemed miles away, impossibly distant. My dream, now a source of agonizing irony. The officer glanced again, briefly. A tiny seed of doubt seemed to flicker in his eyes this time. Was it the expensive sign? The professional look of the building? But years of ingrained bias were hard to overcome. He shook his head, dismissing the thought. Turn around. Hands behind your back. His voice was firm. Final. My world spun. Tears finally escaped, tracing hot paths down my cheeks. This was it. Defeat. Humiliation. Injustice. And then, a voice cut through the haze. Sharp. Concerned. Familiar. Officers. Hey. What seems to be the problem here? I whipped my head around, hope surging through me like an electric current. David. It was David. He was jogging towards us, his face a mask of worry, his eyes fixed on me, then darting to the officers, taking in the handcuffs dangling from the younger officer's hand. Relief washed over me, so potent it almost made my knees buckle. Thank God. Oh, thank God, David. Sir, step back. The younger officer ordered, turning to face David, trying to assert control. This is official police business. David stopped a safe distance away, holding his hands up slightly. He looked utterly bewildered, especially seeing the cuffs so close to me. Officers. I understand, David said, his voice calm but carrying authority. But I think there might be a huge mistake happening here. The older officer frowned, annoyed by the interruption. And who are you, sir? My name is David Miller. I'm the sales manager at Prestige Motors, just down the street. He gestured back towards the dealership. Then, he looked directly at the officers, his gaze steady. And this woman, he said, his voice ringing with conviction, the woman you are apparently about to arrest. That is Miss Aaliyah Jones. She is the president and CEO of Prestige Motors. She owns the dealership. This car, he gestured to the sapphire blue sedan, is part of our new inventory. She was taking it for a test drive, which she does all the time. Silence descended, thick, heavy, awkward. The sounds of the city seemed to fade away. The older officer stared at David, his mouth slightly agape, then his head snapped back towards me. His eyes, which had been filled with suspicion and accusation, now held a dawning horror. He looked back at David, then at the car, then back at me again. The pieces were clicking into place in his head, dismantling the prejudiced narrative he'd constructed. The smirk was long gone, replaced by disbelief, then confusion, then a rapidly spreading flush of deep crimson embarrassment. The younger officer looked completely lost. He fumbled with the handcuffs, quickly clipping them back onto his belt, his eyes wide with shock. She owns it, he stammered, looking to his partner for guidance, for confirmation that the world hadn't just turned upside down. The older officer swallowed hard. The redness crept up his neck. He cleared his throat, the sound loud in the stillness. "Is this accurate, sir?" he asked David, though his gaze was fixed on me, searching my face for confirmation. "Forgiveness. In 100% accurate," David stated firmly. Miss Jones founded the company herself 5 years ago. She built it from the ground up. She signs my paychecks." There was no room for doubt in David's tone. The older officer took a deep, shaky breath. He looked at me properly then, as if seeing me for the first time, not as a suspect, not as a stereotype, but as a person, a businesswoman, the owner, and in his eyes I saw the ugly truth of his assumption shatter, the prejudice cracked, revealing the massive error beneath. "Ma'am," he began, his voice strained, suddenly stripped of its earlier arrogance. It was softer now, almost hesitant. "Miss Jones," he corrected himself quickly. It seems there has been a significant misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. He called this crater of fear and humiliation a misunderstanding. My body still hummed with residual terror. The trembling hadn't stopped. But now, beneath the fear, a cold, hard anger began to solidify. "A misunderstanding," I repeated, my voice low, dangerously quiet. The tears had stopped, replaced by a steely resolve. "You pulled me over without cause. You accused me of grand theft auto. You dismissed everything I said. You were about to put me in handcuffs in the middle of the street. You treated me like a common criminal in front of my own business." Each word landed like a heavy stone. "And you call that a misunderstanding?" The officer shifted his weight from foot to foot. He couldn't meet my eyes now. We had received a call," he mumbled, looking down at his boots. "A citizen reported a suspicious person driving erratically in a high-end vehicle in this area." "A suspicious person." I cut him off, my voice gaining strength. "Tell me, officer, what exactly was suspicious about me? Was it my driving? Or was it the fact that my skin color didn't match the perceived price tag of the car I was in?" The question hung heavy in the air. Uncomfortable. Undeniable. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The younger officer looked physically ill, staring at the pavement as if hoping it would swallow him. The onlookers had mostly dispersed, sensing the shift in power, the dissipation of the drama. David stepped closer, placing a supportive, grounding hand lightly on my elbow. "Aaliyah, are you all right?" he asked quietly, his eyes full of concern. I gave a small, jerky nod. But I wasn't all right. Not even close. How could I be all right after being judged, condemned, and nearly arrested based on prejudice? The older officer finally looked up, his face a mixture of shame and professional obligation. "Miss Jones, on behalf of myself and my partner, I want to offer our sincerest apologies. We made a serious error. There's no excuse." An apology. Forced out by the undeniable truth, delivered by my white male employee. It felt thin, brittle, utterly inadequate. Like trying to patch a crumbling dam with chewing gum. It wouldn't undo the terror. It wouldn't erase the deep sting of humiliation. It wouldn't quiet the voice inside me that now whispered, "See, this is what they think of you." "An error," I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "A serious error." I was too emotionally exhausted to scream, too deeply wounded to rage. A profound weariness settled over me. "You need to do better," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "You need to question your assumptions. You need to investigate before you accuse. Before you humiliate someone. Before you potentially ruin a life based on a feeling. On a bias." I looked from one officer to the other. What if Mr. Miller hadn't seen us? What would have happened then? Would I be downtown right now? Would my picture be on the news? They had no answer. They just stood there, radiating discomfort. They mumbled more apologies, assured me the report would be cleared, that there would be no record. Small comfort. The record etched into my memory wouldn't be erased so easily. They got back into their patrol car, avoiding eye contact. And just like that, they drove away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk next to my stunning sapphire blue sedan, the car that was meant to be a symbol of my achievement, my freedom. Now it felt like evidence. Evidence of a system that saw me as inherently suspect. It felt tarnished. The shine seemed dimmer. David gently guided me back towards the dealership. The short walk felt like miles. He didn't say much, just stayed close, a silent pillar of support. Inside, the normal dealership hum seemed muted, and my staff averted their eyes, pretending not to notice my slightly disheveled state, the lingering tension clinging to me. But I knew. They knew something had happened. The whispers would start. The story would circulate. I walked straight to my office. My sanctuary. The space I had designed myself, filled with symbols of my journey, my success. I closed the door behind me, the click echoing in the sudden quiet. I sank into my leather chair, the one that usually made me feel powerful and control. Today, I just felt small. And tired. So incredibly tired. The adrenaline finally ebbed away, leaving behind a deep throbbing ache. Not a physical ache. An ache deep in my soul. That Tuesday morning carved a line in my life, before and after. The pride I felt in Prestige Motors, the joy in my hard-won success, it was still there. But now, it was overlaid with a shadow of caution. A layer of protective cynicism. It was a harsh, painful reminder. A reminder that for people who look like me, success doesn't always equal acceptance, or safety. Sometimes, your very achievements can make you a target. Sometimes, the world will try to tear you down, based on nothing more than the color of your skin, and the assumptions that come with it. I still drive the beautiful cars. I still run my dealership with pride. But sometimes, when I catch a glimpse of flashing lights in my rearview mirror, my heart still gives that sickening lurch. The fear is still there. A quiet hum beneath the surface. But so is the fire. The determination. They didn't break me that day. They won't break me. I will not let prejudice dim my light. I will not let ignorance steal my joy. I built this life. I earned this success. And I belong here. This is my story. And I am the one who gets to write the ending. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and listening to my story. Experiences like this are unfortunately far too common, and sharing them is one way we can create understanding and push for change. If this story touched you or made you think, please show your support by hitting the like button. Have you ever faced something similar, or witnessed prejudice in action? Share your thoughts or experiences respectfully in the comments below. Your voice matters. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories that need to be heard. And finally, if you think this story could resonate with others, please share this video. Spreading awareness is a powerful tool. Thank you for being part of this community.